Hello everyone, welcome to the Hackerish YouTube channel, where all the content is about computer hacking, designed to make you a better ethical hacker. To this new episode of BurpSuite extensions, where we go through each one of them by popularity. In the previous video, we discovered G2E scan, and we found how we can use it to test Java web applications and find things from simple information disclosure to remote code execution. But I assume that you're here because you're interested in JSON web tokens. That would be the subject of this video, so let's get started. So first of all, let's install it. As you can see, it's not installed yet. Scroll down and then hit install. Straight away, you should see a new tab which says JSON Web Tokens. For those of you who don't know what JWT are, well, they're kind of a session. But the cool thing about it is that the backend can verify if it has been tampered with along the way using what's called signatures. That's JWT in a nutshell. To help you understand more, let's go to the WebGoat web application and then broken authentication, and we have a dedicated section for JWT tokens. Click on that and you should have pretty much all what you need to know to get you started. WebGoat is a really great web application if you want to learn web application hacking, and I use it as part of the OWASP Top 10 training series, where you get to discover and understand both the theory and the practicals about the 10 most famous web application vulnerabilities. I highly encourage you to give it a try if you want to get started in web application hacking. For the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on JWT tokens. In the second page on WebGoat, you get to understand the structure of a JWT token. And as you can see in this picture, it's comprised of three main elements. The first one is the header, which typically indicates what are the metadata about this token, like what are algorithm being used for signature, what is the type of this JWT token. The second part is the claims. You can find all the things to maintaining a session with the user. So in this case, we have an attribute called username, an expiration timestamp, the scope, maybe the roles of that user, etc. And the latest part is the signature, which takes the first part, the second part, and then applies whatever algorithm it is defined in the header part. Notice that I'm going back and forth between this structure here and the JSON format, and that's because if you take the first header, this JSON object, and base64 encode it, you should see something similar to this, and so on and so forth for the other parts. Typically, when you authenticate yourself to a web application, you receive this kind of token, and then you need to send it in all the subsequent requests, much like a cookie. But in this case, you have the possibility as a web developer to verify the signature and reject the token if it has been modified. Now, JWT tokens are known for some classic attacks. So that's why we're going to give this challenge a try. So we have a voting system, right? And if I log in as Jerry, I can see the votes. I can vote, but unfortunately, I can't delete or reset the votes. And it's clearly mentioned here that only an admin user can reset the votes. So let's see how this feature actually works. If we proxy our requests through BurpSuite using Foxy Proxy, again, if you don't know what Foxy Proxy is, or what is BurpSuite, or what is WebGoat, or how to configure all of this, make sure you visit the OWASP Top 10 playlist that I mentioned earlier. I'm assuming you already know that. Let's click on this item and let's vote, or maybe try to reset the votes. Well, you can see that straight away on BurpSuite I have some requests. What I'm interested in is how to reset the votes. So as you can see, we have this post request which uses what seems to be a JWT token, and you can easily recognize it from these 3 parts of base64 encoded data. So how can we attack this? Well, remember that we've installed JSON Web Tokens, so we can first try to decode this. So what we can do is just select this text right here and then right click and then send selected text to JSON Web Tokens tab to decode. And right away, you can see what this JWT token holds, specifically in the claims part, which contains an interesting attribute called admin, and it's set to false. So I wonder if we change this to true, what would happen? But remember that JWT tokens are signed, as we know so far, so how can we go about attacking this? JWT are still valid if they don't contain the signature, and that means that if the backend server doesn't validate the signature, we can just remove it. So let's take it one step at a time. The first thing we need to do is change the algorithm to something that is standardized in JWT, which is called none, just to say that I don't need a signature for my JWT token. So let's select once again the JWT token, but this time just the first part, and then send it to the decoder, which is a tool that simply just performs encoding, decoding, and hashing operations. So let's decode this. As we know, it's base64, and from here what we're gonna do is just change this to none, and then re-encode it to base64, copy it over to our request. Let's first send it to the repeater and paste it here, just like that. Let's take the second part, the claims, right click, send it to the decoder, decode as base64. We have some limitations here, so we're just going to manually format this to have a valid JSON, and then change this to true. Code it as base64, copy it over to our request, paste it, and what we need to do now is just get rid of the signature. So if we cross our fingers and send the request, maybe the backend server doesn't properly handle JWTs and blindly accepts JWT tokens which are not signed. So drum rolls, let's send, and it says that it's not a valid JWT token. Please try again. That's odd. Let's just encode it using Command U to encode the special characters, in this case equals, to be properly handled by the backend. In this case, equals would be transformed to %3D. So if we send this, we get a congratulations. And if we refresh the page, we shall see that the votes have been reset. So the workflow, as you saw, is just whenever you see a request which contains a JWT token, automatically you will get a new tab here appearing. That's one of the things that JSON Web Tokens Burp extension does. So this gives you an idea, a hint that this request contains a JWT token. If you click on it, you get it decoded without any effort. And furthermore, you can copy it and send it to the new tab, which gives you basically the same results. Another thing that JSON Web Token does is verify the signature based on the key. If I type something random, I immediately get a red button. So behind the scenes, what this extension does is calculate the signature based on algorithm and my secret key. I already know what the secret key is, which is victory. How did I find it? Well, using white box testing, always look through the code if you have the chance to. But I don't think it's really useful. Apart from this tab, there are other more interesting JWT related extensions, and let's try to find them by name. I think it's JSON Web Token Attacker. If everything goes well, we should see that we have a new tab called Joseph. If anyone is named Joseph who's watching this video, hi. So if we redo the same thing once more, let's use user Tom this time, and maybe try to trigger a vote reset. Let's see what happens here. So apparently you're starting to see something interesting. This extension, Joseph, or JSON Web Application or JSON Web Token Attacker, automatically highlights whenever a request contains a JWT token. Now, if I go to Preferences, I can instruct Joseph to detect whether the request contains a JWT token based on the name of the parameter. In this case, because we had access token and the cookie access token contained actually the JWT token, this extension was able to highlight those requests. On top of that, it uses the same, let's say, feature that JSON Web Tokens extension provides, which is this tab here, but this time it's spreading the three parts of a JWT token into a separate tab. So we have the header, the payload, and the signature. So if we right click on this, we see that we can't send it to Joseph, which is a bummer. But looking around, I found that we can send this request to the repeater, and from here, if we right click, we see that this is activated. So now we can send it to Joseph. If we click, however, and go, I don't see anything related to my token. The algorithm has been picked up, but nothing else. But the cool thing about this extension is you can use built-in attacks like key confusion or signature exclusion. So this attack is the same one that we've used to reset the votes. So it used to work like this. You select your attack, you load it, and then you click on attack, and this extension would automatically replace the algorithm with none and then send the updated JWT token to the web application, and it records the results simply. But here I don't see any results, any requests, so I guess the author has to maybe update it. But if I select my JWT token, copy it, and use Joseph manual tab, I can input my JSON Web Token here, hit load, and it will give me the attacks that I can perform. If I choose a signature exclusion, for example, and hit load, you can see the same attack that we've seen before, which is algorithm none. In this case, we have some variations of the word none to bypass any restrictions imposed by the backend. If we choose the first one and hit update, you can see that we have the new JWT token. Let me give you another tool that we can use to decode JWT tokens, and that's JWT.io. Now, I don't really encourage you to use online tools. Never ever paste in a production JWT token into a random web page to decode it. That would be risky because you don't know what the application is doing with it. So if I paste it, you can see that indeed the algorithm has been changed to none, and we don't have any signature, obviously. The problem though is that you need to change this to true. So that makes it a bit unpractical from an attacking perspective, but you can still use that to verify if the backend is accepting this token or not at the first place. So if I paste that and send the request, I should have something telling me that the JWT token is not supported, it's not valid, it's corrupted, or something like this. But here, I get the same result as before, which means that maybe the web application is not performing signature validation. At this moment, I can go further, copy this to the decoder and do the manual work, as we've seen before. Apart from that, you can use Joseph to decode a JWT token, much like we saw with JSON Web tokens. So if I maybe take this one, copy it, and paste it here. Let's decode. I need to paste it here and then hit decode. You can see that we have the first part, the second part, and the third part is just the signature, which is normal to have this random bytes. I don't think that I know any other Burp extension which deals with JSON Web Tokens. I would be very happy if you can provide some extensions that you think I should include. I will include them in a future video. Also, let me know how you use those extensions and if they are helpful in your web application hacking process.
If you found this content helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so that you get updates whenever I publish a new video on ethical hacking and bug bounty hunting. If you're new to hacking and want to learn the basics, check out the free OWASP Top 10 theory and hands-on training on thehackerish.com and apply your knowledge on the lab which supports it. If you enjoy learning with videos, I invite you to watch the OWASP Top 10 YouTube playlist. However, I encourage you to first try to solve the lab exercises so that you don't spoil them. Don't forget that there are supporting blog posts for most of the videos you watch on this YouTube channel. I also encourage you to subscribe to the Friday newsletter on thehackerish.com to gain some new hacking knowledge at the end of the week. If you enjoy listening while doing other things at the same time, check out the Hack for Fun and Profit podcast, link in the description box. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and go find some bugs.